Okay, so all of these formulas are going to be over on the whiteboard for our reference, so we're not flipping back and forth. Okay, so let's try an example. We have a hyperbola. The first thing we have to decide is it horizontal or vertical? Well, which way is it opening? Left or right, or left and right, or up and down? Left and right, which makes it what kind? Horizontal. Now, when you hear the word horizontal, what axis comes to mind? The x-axis, because doesn't the x-axis, isn't it a horizontal axis? So what that means is you're going to be using the equation over there where x comes first. So x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, so let me say that again. The first thing you need to look at is what type of hyperbola it is. Is it horizontal or is it vertical? Since it opens left and right, it's horizontal. And when you hear the word horizontal, you automatically think x-axis, so we're going to be using the equation on the board that starts with the x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared. Remember, with hyperbolas, the x and the y switch places, but the a will always be here and the b will always be there. Okay? So, obviously, to write this equation, we kind of have to know what a and b are, correct? Okay. A and b are both the distance from the center. Okay, see how on this graph you have these diagonal lines drawn in? Those lines are your asymptotes. Okay, do you see where those asymptotes intersect? Don't they intersect right here at the origin? So our center is 0, 0 for this hyperbola. Okay? Alright, now, see how A is paired up with the x? Well, isn't x all about horizontal? So, from the center to this side of the hyperbola is how much distance? 7. So your A value equals 7. Okay, B is paired up with the y, and so that's all about vertical. So from the center up to the top of your box is how many units? Is it 3? Right. Okay, so your B value equals 3. So now we have enough to write our equation. X squared over a squared. Well, what is a squared? 49. Minus y squared over b squared. What is b squared? 9 equals 1. And so that is the equation for this hyperbola. Okay, but we also have to give the slopes of these asymptotes. Okay? Well, there's a formula for it. See over there, it says horizontal. Hold on. Right here, these three equations are for horizontal hyperbola. And then the other three equations on this side of the board are for vertical. Okay, so what do the slopes look like with horizontal asymptotes? Plus or minus what? B over A. So it would be plus or minus 3 over 7. Now, let's talk about y once you write it down. Okay, slopes. What do you know about slope? What's another rise over run? That's what I'm looking for. Okay, when you're talking about rise, what axis are you talking about? The y-axis, okay, because we rise up and down. Okay, when you're talking about run, we're talking about the x-axis. Okay, look over here. For this horizontal hyperbola, isn't the b value with the y value? Well, if the y value should go on top, that's why the b value needed to go on top. Okay, and then your run is your x value. Well, with the x is a, that's why a went on the bottom for horizontal hyperbolas. Okay, because it always should be your y over your x. So your y was over 9, but that originally was a b value of 3. And then over x, because run goes on the bottom, well, the original a value was 7. Don't worry, we got a lot more of these to do. Okay, can I erase all this and let's try example 2? Okay, example 2. The first thing you need to decide is what type of hyperbola it is. Which way is it opening? Up and down, right? Okay, so it is vertical. Well, when you hear the word vertical, what axis comes to mind? The y-axis. So we're going to use the equation on the right side of the board over there that starts with y. Y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, but obviously we have to fill that in with some numbers, so we need to know what a and b equal. Okay, well a is paired with the y. So from the center to calculate a, which way do we need to go? Up or down, it doesn't really matter. So 3 units. So a equals 3. And then your b is paired with the x. So to find the b value, we need to go to the right, which is how many units? 6. Okay, so now we have what we need to know to write the equation. Y squared over what? 9, because it's the distance from the center to the box. Okay, and then minus x squared over 36 equals 1. So there's the equation for this hyperbola. Okay, now let's talk about the slope. The slopes of these asymptotes is plus or minus. Why do we have plus and minus? Look, isn't one of the asymptotes positive and one of the asymptotes is negative? That's why you technically have 2 asymptotes, right? So that's why they say slopes. They're talking about the slope of this one and the slope of this asymptote. Well, one of these asymptotes is positive, one of them is negative. That's why it's plus or minus. Okay, so now remember it's rise over run, which is y over x. So if you look at the y, it's over the 9, but that 9 was originally a 3. So it'll be 3 over 6. A over b, which is what it says on the board for the slope of a vertical asymptote. Yes, like on the test, if the choices, one of them is not 3 over 6, look for 1/2. Yes? Okay, look how this one opens left and right. This one opens up and down. Okay? Just you look at the U-shaped parts. Oh, okay. All right, let's try the third example. Can I erase everything above it? Okay, example 3. Is it vertical or horizontal? Horizontal, because aren't they opening left and right? So it is horizontal. And when you hear the word horizontal, which axis comes to mind? The x-axis. Okay, so like I was saying, we'll be using x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. So does everybody so far know how to at least identify whether it's horizontal or vertical and then choose the correct equation from there? Well, look, if it's horizontal, horizontal is the x-axis, so you're going to use the equation that starts with the x. If it's vertical, that's the y-axis, so choose the one that starts with y. Okay? Now, obviously, to actually fill this equation in with the correct values, we have to know what a and b equal. Well, a is paired with the x, which is the horizontal distance from the center, and that's how many units? 2, right? And then B is paired with the y, which is the vertical distance from the center, and that is also 2. So doesn't that kind of make your slopes easy? You don't really have to think about it. It's just plus or minus 2 over 2 or plus or minus 1. Okay, now let's finish out the equation. What will both denominators be? 4, because 2 squared is 4, 2 squared is 4. Okay, once you've copied that, turn to the next page. All right, number 1. Is it horizontal or vertical? Vertical. Vertical. Look, it's opening up and down, so vertical. And vertical makes you think of which axis? The y-axis. So we're going to start with the equation that starts with y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. Yes. Yes. Okay, so we have to figure out what our A and B are. Okay, well, which one is A paired with? The y. So vertical distance from the center is 1, 2, 3, 4. So A equals 4. From the center, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, B is under the x, so that's the horizontal distance from the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because I see where that box is drawn in. Yep. No, and we can talk about where the box comes from later, but today let's just talk about it.
So this one isn't A given to me.
No, that's only with ellipses. A will always be under the left, B will always be the right fraction. Okay, so now we have y squared over a squared. Well, what is a squared? 16. Minus x squared over b squared. What is b squared? 25 equals 1. Okay, now we need to know the slopes of the asymptote. Okay, well, we know it's plus or minus because there's 2 of them, and one of them's positive, one of them's negative. And then since it's a vertical hyperbola, it's what over what? A over b, so 4 over 5.
So this horizontal is B over A.
Yes. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and try number 2, and then we'll go over once you've had a chance to try it. For 2, is this a vertical or horizontal hyperbola? Vertical. Okay, so that means we need to use the equation that starts with, right, y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, so now we need to know what A and B equal. Well, A is paired with what letter for this one? Y. So to find the A value, we need to go from the center up how many? 5. Okay, and then B is under the X, so we need to go from the center right 4. Okay, so y squared over a squared, which is 25, minus x squared over 16 equals 1. Now for the slopes, remember there are 2 asymptotes, so that's why we're doing the slopes. But they're the exact same slope other than the fact one of them is going in the positive direction, one of them is going in the negative direction. So that's why we put the plus or minus. And then for vertical asymptotes, what is it? A over B, so 5 over 4. Okay, take a couple of minutes and try 3 and 4, and then I'll project the answers in a couple of minutes so you can check them. Okay, once you've checked your answer, turn over to page 35. Plus or minus? Because you're dealing with 2 asymptotes. Here's one asymptote. show up this positive 3/4, and here's the other one that's negative
How is it
3/4.
not 16 and it's 4? For number 3.
For number 3,
This is 4 and it's squared over. For B's okay.
because your A was 2, so when I square it, I get 4. But 1, 2.
All from the center.
Yeah. Somebody had asked before you. Okay, turn to page 35.
Oh, is this what the hand?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so I want you to notice that the ones we just did, every single hyperbola had a center where? At the origin, at 0, 0. Okay? Because technically, the equation is x minus h squared over, for this one, this was vertical. So hold on. I don't want to confuse anybody. Okay, so for like a horizontal hyperbola, technically it's x minus h squared minus y minus k squared. I'm on page 33 for just a second more. But since the center is at 0, 0, think about it. If you plugged in 0, 0 for h and k, aren't you basically just left with x squared and y squared? So that's why we didn't have to worry about h and k. But now when we move on to page 35, are those hyperbolas, are their centers at 0, 0? No. Okay, so now we are going to have to keep in mind that there's going to be a value for h and k other than zeros. Okay, so let's start with this one. Write an equation for the hyperbola given in the graph. Find the slope of the asymptotes. Okay, first, is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal is opening left and right. And horizontal reminds you of which axis? The x-axis. So we're going to be using the equation where x comes first. X minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, but obviously just like before, to use this formula we have to know an a and a b, but this time we also have to know h and k, which is the what? The center. Well, where is the center of this hyperbola? 2, negative 1. Okay, so your h is 2, your k is negative 1. Okay, so let's start writing the equation. X minus h. What would I fill in here? 2 squared over, I'm just going to leave that blank for a second. I'm just focusing on the center first. Y minus, right, it'll turn it to a plus 1 because a minus and negative is a positive. Now, that's the only thing new. The rest of it is just like we've been doing. A is under the x. So to find the a value, what do we need to do from the center? Correct. And how many units is that? Hold on, I'll have to get to mine. I can't see it. Well, from the center of the hyperbola, yes. And so it is 3 units. So a equals 3. Okay, b is under the y. So to find the b value, I need to go from the center. Hold on a second. I got 4 for a on my paper. I'll show you. It's a bad graph, so it's hard to see. So let's count it out. They're numbered by 2s. Like this is at 2, 4, 6. So from there to there is 4 units. Yeah. Okay? It's okay. It's a bad graph. Now, b value from the center of the hyperbola up to the top of the box is 3 units. Bless you. Okay, so now what will the denominator be under this x minus 2 squared? 16. What will this denominator be? 9. Okay, since we're dealing with a horizontal hyperbola, the slopes are going to be plus or minus 3 over 4 because b over a. Okay, once you've copied that, let's try the second example. Okay. Is this, what? Is this a horizontal or vertical hyperbola? Vertical. It's opening up and down. And when you hear the word vertical, you think of which axis first? The y. So we're going to be using the equation where the y comes first. Y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. Okay? So, to actually use this equation, we have to know some things. What do we have to know? The center. Negative 4, 3 is correct, so that's our h and our k. And what else do we have to know? A and B, right. Okay, so first let's deal with the center. Y minus k squared minus x minus h squared. So what do I fill in right here? 3. Because remember, it's backwards. The y's first, so that's a k. So you pull the 3. And then x minus negative 4 over here to fill in the h would be x plus 4. So yeah, you got to be careful there because the y and x are out of order, so that means when you plug in h and k, they'll be out of order. Okay, now over,
Wait, you said when? You're out of it.
like this time instead of it being x on the left, y on the right, it's reversed. So that means this is k, this is h. So you got to be careful when you're looking at your center, not to just plug that straight in the first one, that in the second one. This one actually goes in the first one, and this one goes in the second one. Okay, now a is under the y. So to calculate the a, I go from the center which way? Up. Okay, how many units is that? I got 5. Okay, so a equals 5. Okay, and then to calculate the b value, it's under the x, so I go to the right, and it's 7 units. Okay, so what would the denominator be under the y minus 3 squared? Right, and what would the other one be? Okay, and then plus or minus, we're dealing with vertical, so it'll be 5 over 7, a over b. Okay, go to the next page.
This is the same thing on the next page? No, that's it.
Okay. Okay, number 1, is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. So when you hear the word horizontal, which axis comes to mind first? The x-axis. So we're going to be using that first equation where x is first. X minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. Okay, but to actually fill it in, you have to know a, b, and the center, your h and k. Okay, so where is the center for this hyperbola? Negative 1, negative 1. Okay, a is under the x. So to find the a, which way do we go? Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, b is under the y, so which way do we go? Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3. So now we have everything we need to know to plug in. So I'm going to set it up. Okay, x minus h. What is the h? So it'll become x plus 1. Y minus, so it'll become plus 1. Okay, your a value is 4, so, and your b value is 3, so square it, you get 9. So there's your equation. Now for the slopes of horizontal hyperbolas, it's plus or minus b over a, so 3 over 4. Okay, you go ahead and try number 2.
It is good, right?
It's Miss J to you.
Miss J.
We're running out of time. Turn around.
Yeah,
Okay.
Miss Stone Bone.
Number 1, is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. They're opening left and right. So that means we need to use the equation where x comes first. over b squared equals 1. So we need to know the a, the b, and the center, the h and k. Okay, well where is the center?
0. Way in.
0, -2, right. Okay, so the a is under the x. So to find the value of a, we need to go from the center
How do you know it's not right?
to the right or left. It doesn't really matter. They're the same distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How do you know?
And remember, even if you go left, you wouldn't write -5 because is distance ever negative? No. Okay, to find the b, you go from the center up. 1, 2, 3. So now you would have gotten x minus h squared, which really we could have just written as x squared. You don't have to write the -0. Over your a squared would be 25. Minus y minus k, but since k is a negative number, that'll become plus 2 over what? 9 equals 1. Now for the slopes of horizontal hyperbolas, it's what over what? B over a, so 3 over 5. Okay, you're going to try 3 and 4 quickly. I'm going to pop up the answers in like 1 minute so you can check yourself. And then I'm going to also have the homework written up there. Okay, so work for the next minute or 2. We got 3 minutes till the bell. Okay, work on the last 2.
Please tell me the homework that says choose the full page on either one of these. Let's go over.
Kind of, but not all of it.
That isn't all of it, or it's not all of it?
It's not all of it. Hello? Yes. Okay. Monica, author's office, bring your base.
Who said?